Doing well, doing well. Just re-emerging after a no GAC week. So yeah, just picking the game back up again.
Pretty much. Yeah, I feel like that's pretty much the thing, right? We were on the off week, finishing Conquest for the awesome new character coming out, and getting prepared where it was.
Yeah, it very much just feels like calm before the storm. Like I'm
Mm.
not sure that there's too much happening immediately.
I'm doing all right, man. How you doing?
Just gonna look for the hat.
Yeah, yeah. Just sorry for being late. I mean, uh, it wouldn't. Man, imagine having kids off for the, you know, till the new year. Ugh. Yeah, 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 yeah. And then we have a birthday tomorrow. So, oh, and I had to go pick up some stuff for a birthday tomorrow. So, yeah.
So I did end up with a 7-star Hera, and it was not part of the master plan. I was actually just going to go to 6 stars and wait on it, but happened to get a good roll. So nice try, CG. But we when I we'll go through the kits, in this episode, but I had not formulated a master plan for utilization of her. It wasn't something I was like all excited about. So I think I'm all the more interested in diving into the conversation and exchanging thoughts with everybody. But yeah, so I did take her up and straight to R8. Um, and I had looked at, I mean, I only had about 30 minutes before lock when I actually had some time to kind of dive in once I had Hera set. And ideally, I think I would have made that same move on Hu Yang, moving to an offense set I had a set that I'm just going to keep there because it's particularly solid offense secondaries, but it's a speed set, and so um, probably going to stick with that. And then I guess the decision I've got is around whether to put Ezra with Ray again, or just go full on Spectre plus or minus that. So that was the big turn of events for me.
I mean, to answer your question, I think that it's going to be undeniably more value to put Ezra on Ray than try to make your opponent figure out a new team, which is unlikely to be as good as Ray plus Ezra. We don't even know how good of a B team it is. It reads more like a C team to me, but I understand what you're saying.
It's my impression too. That's one of the reasons I was not in any rush. I kind of figured
Yeah.
if anything, Hera was going to potentially be an option as like a Spectre leader in threes, something outside of
Yes.
GL Ahsoka. But I may do it anyway because simple and underpowered or not, it's still a relatively new puzzle, and I may do it. So uh, we'll see. I agree with you though.
Yeah. I don't really have the ability to add more relics. So the only remod I did is I ran TJ's template. Yeah, I'm lazy. I am I'm still in Chromium 3. Like what do you think I'm like? Yeah, anyways. I'll be with you guys in like 2 months.
I guess a big question: did you sign up for this week's GAC?
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yes.
congrats! 3-0. That's awesome.
Also, to what Sasha said, I wasn't paying attention. I almost bought the 5 pull, and then I checked. It's like, oh, my hair is already 6 stars. I didn't even see that I got like a 145 pull.
Don't forget, if you got the thing, you also get free 20 shards, man. And thankfully somebody put it that, so I did the 5 pull, and now I'm at 50 already. So I guess a little bit of a wasted thing, but I'm like, yeah, somebody pulled it out in the guild chat, and I'm like, oh damn, I forgot about the 20. And it was nothing more than just do 5 battles and mods, and there's free 20 shards.
Yeah, I'll coast into her being 7 stars off the 10 pull, thankfully. But yeah, to Sasha's point, like I could have just, with my normal marquee crystal expenditure, just 7 starter, but I didn't because
I think it calls it out perfectly. I don't know, unless Fatal's going to come up with some shenanigans, which Fatal does come up with shenanigans. And a world of 5s, man, there's just not enough room for something like this, like what the Dagger said. I just don't see where it's like, oh, this is really going to catch him off guard, and then I'm going to lighten up the Ray team, which essentially still has a bigger place to play with the Ezra until we get the Ahsoka out. It just doesn't feel like that slot. This is nowhere near that. Threes, I like the idea of threes, man. That threes, I think, is going to be a lot of fun. Seeing what she can do, I feel like it's got good merits.
Hera Chopper Hu Yang. I'm ready for it.
It looks pretty cool, man. All right, and you know I'm a Zeb truther. I saw some Zeb love in there, so it's like,
oh no,
man,
CG made the kit. CG made the kit, and then they sent it to TJ for
yeah, what a dick,
quality
dude.
assurance. He's like, "There's
Trying
no
to give me
Zeb here."
hope.
They're like, "Shit,
You
we'll just add it."
That's it. That's right. That's right. Don't leave me in my zone, man. Just leave me alone. Is there really any right now in this prep? I'm not calling out again. I don't know. I'll be interested to hear what Fatal's got to say. But that limited of teams, I don't. Is there anything else minus the mothers or the mothers, and you still get to deal with that? And I think there's some tricks that we have with that team. But other than that, is there really something else that I might be missing that's going to do some other magical thing here?
Yeah, I don't really have anything for 5v5. I think 5v5 had a few good seasons when we had a few good crown seasons, but I think we're very much headed towards just there. I don't think there's anything you can really post that can make people trip and fall.
That's what I'm saying, right? It's like, to me, it's the inverse of Fatal's taking off 5s, and we'll see him back for 3s. And it's like, because you have 11 teams. You just don't. I mean, if you get caught on mother, sure. And I think there's some fun things you can do with Ebb on a full team array. That's gonna be cool. But
you have 11 teams to try to trip up like 60.
It's
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's what I'm
we don't
expecting.
have set 16. That's what I'm saying. You don't have set 16, the craziness or these added Swigo 2.0 we've talked about. So I'm like, it's like I would be interested to hear what when Sasha has his match with Aesop, when not if when he has his match with Aesop, if there's something funky there happens, some shenanigans. But it's like, what is that going to solve? I saw what Gas was killing it or something like that. It's like, and hers is a TW Omicron, so there is no GAC magic unless you're going to pull the ebb, which Dagger said, and I fully agree. It's like, so you're going to take it off your Ray and make that team 100 times easier, in my opinion, and then leave that open just for a team that probably will still die to Gas.
I'll tell you, like, my just sort of general sentiment on the meta going into this 5v5 season, like Fatal was saying, like, I just kind of a sense of utility, and it actually left me, like, for lack of a better word, I'll say this is a strategy. But what I was considering was each match, I will go in and I will flip a coin. And if it is heads, I will place every GL I have. And
I
if it
love
is
it.
tails, I will hold every GL that I have.
And
Just
will
try
not
and come
move
up with
out
the best
anywhere.
spots.
And then Sasha will move exactly nowhere, and we'll still be in the one Aesop, one Rando, and stay. He's never going anywhere, guys. Let's be fair. He'll have his one match with Aesop. He'll have the other people, and then he'll come back and talk about his one real match.
I mean, to be fair, this is the eternal Sasha Aisha problem because for like a year he just was at number one with a 400-point cushion. Like, people forget that he just didn't have any competition for like a year, and now he's just like, I guess I have Aesop.
Yep.
So I mean, he's not going any. Like, Sasha's not going. I'm just saying, Sasha's not going anywhere anyways.
Yeah, I'm not going anywhere, but it's primarily being bolstered by erodium after erodium after erodium. So I guess thank you, CG.
It's just where your cushion is. Like I said, Fatal.
aren't they?
Yeah. It's like I want to do the heads tail thing, and I'm gonna win, and I'm going nowhere, guys. I'll still be right here.
Well, I just want to say first before we like dig into this kit, I really like all of the models for these new characters. This whole, like I don't like doing the whole let's praise the art department bullshit. But
no, man,
you remember how Plato faced Padme Amidala was right, and we're talking about how they couldn't get women right.
Potato Ray. Dude, it is.
Yeah.
They are definitely catching up, man. And then watching them in game and their interactions is cool as shit. Mm-hmm. 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 Oh, Duke. I hate to say it, Conquest. Him and Conquest under a JML team, man. I think I dropped him all the way to 0 just using the team because there was something I had to complete, and he just locks down that team. The minute it goes off, he just goes to town, just literally destroying everybody. He's JKCK 2.0, right? With the amount what he can punch and what he pushes through is wild.
He's JK. He's Cal without the utility.
Yep. Oh yeah. But that's what I'm saying, right? It's like once he locks it out and you're locked off, that's game. Let's just be done with
it. A fatal question for you. You were early taking Ezra to R9. You don't regret that, do you? Like, how do you feel about that now?
I mean, it made a really funny screenshot. I got exactly what I thought I would get out of it, and now it's like, yeah. So how's your 2 zombie R9s? And it's like, well, that's just not happening. And Ahsoka's about to come out, and that's probably getting an R9. And was it a good decision? No.
Yep.
But
responsible decision making aside, joy factor high.
I mean, the defense number kept on going up in some really funny ways against some teams that it probably shouldn't have. And I
Right.
had like some really min-maxed mods. So like, I don't know, man. This is what I've always done in this game is I look for opportunities to like find a power spike and then I just invest irresponsibly in it to just get the most out of it. And I would say this fit that bill, but now it's like, again, I kind of expected to get like a week of fun, or I mean, if anything happens this season, maybe. Like you said, you're gonna flip a coin to see if you do something stupid or not, and I'm kind of just like, I'm basically there, but I'm also using the two-face coin where people find out late in the movie that it's always heads.
Yeah.
Because I'm just like, I might only do stupid stuff this season, so like, yeah, I don't know. Fuck it. Maybe I just throw up a Ray Cat super team at some point and just I don't know, man.
That's what I'm telling you. It's what it
Love
is. Is it'll be Fatal is taking off fives, and we'll see him back for threes. Because it's just there's just nothing to it. But I am excited to see what happens with yours once Ahsoka comes out. Like I said, the one thing that was great for the Balin event, it wasn't Balin. Balin's cool. He's niche. He's nice. He's and all that. Getting to see what GL Ahsoka looks like with Sabine, and I know we're talking about the kit. Dude, it is so good. So knowing what your Ezra is going to do at R9, I expect to be monstrous. So
Watching Sabine slap for 300K under Hera just makes me very
so
hopeful for Ahsoka.
so good, man. This Sabine is a powerhouse, and I still love it. And I know we'll get to it. I'll let you get to it, but it's like
Well, I would say the one thing
no.
really
Go
quick
ahead.
before we go in, I really hope Ahsoka ties these all together because I reread their kits yesterday just to do a minimal amount of prep for this, and I just don't see Hu Yang fitting in. Like she doesn't feel like she fits, or he doesn't feel like he fits in. But anyways,
I think that's not correct, but we'll go to it. Go to each piece
okay.
of it.
He has things in his kit. He has things in his kit that reference other people's kits, but he himself feels redundant. Overrated. Yeah, offense set for sure, and then probably maybe even an offense triangle. No. I'm just saying, like, I remember we had a discussion about offense versus crit damage set on her, and I landed on offense set, and that's why. But yeah, no. To your point, I wonder if it might be worth an offense triangle on her, but I think I'll go with crit damage for now. But it is definitely something that is worth considering.
I think my biggest one, if I'm going to say anything, and I called this out and we got to see it firsthand, is the last piece of it. If Ahsoka dies, when a Spectre ally loses exile, they gain 300% offense. Then there's something about if you lose, if Ahsoka dies. So when Ahsoka's combined together, right, and she dies, Sabine gets more stacks. So she, again, becomes an even bigger ticking time bomb. So I am super excited to see what she's going to do altogether when this ties in. And what I do like is like this, and we'll talk about Hu Yang and the others. They made it to where you don't have to have them with them. Obviously, you're going to, right? Because there's program migration, there's other pieces, but they're just super strong. And Sabine is 100% your damage dealer. She's just a monster for what she's going to do.
Yeah. Also, she has a. I mean, mine's R9, but 121 armor pen is like not actually like an embarrassing amount. Yeah, I'm just saying, like, she has a pretty nice, like, it's not like she's JKCK with 6 or whatever the
Yeah.
fuck it is. CCD and damage. She's an agility. Quick, you can just tell by looking at what her mastery is because she's an agility attacker. She's not a strength attacker. Man, you make videos on kits, and yeah. Uh, it's basically speed down paired with a little expose. They can't gain turn meters just like a cherry on top. No, all of her attacks are relatively cookie cutter. Well, at our rate, if you crit twice, you're getting 105%. Just to be clear. Well,
I think it's just what we talked about before, right? And where we've talked about CG inputting these kits where it's saying per relic level, and then Sabina's getting it.
well, also, she is squishy as fuck. So like R9ing her is like not even like the worst idea, anyways. At R9, I think you can get away with a potency cross. If you're not R9, I wouldn't bother. Well, there's gonna be some amount of insulation on the GL's kit, just like every other GL with either max health, max protection, or both,
Yeah.
and possibly defense. Right? There's gonna be some amount of insulation there, so I wouldn't worry about like putting bulk primaries on her unless you could fit one onto the arrow. I would want prot just because there's just too many things in my opinion that do health percent damage where I just wouldn't want to deal with that. And nothing in her kit specifically calls out her health. So I have her in a prot circle right now, and I think it. Oh no, no, I'm simply saying that bang for your buck protection is going to be more bulk than health. And there's enough health percent bullshit running around out there where how bad do you want your Sabine just like blown up? Like Ezra. Ezra alone has made me reconsider really quick. Ezra alone has made me reconsider some health modding on people. Because he's just like, and your health pool's gone because he does health percent damage. So, anyways.
I'd ask. I know we're gonna move on, but I'd ask Fatal. What are your thoughts on the powerhouse that is Sabine? Mm-hmm.
She's a TFP level simple character. There isn't really like any sauce to put on anything, and we don't know how she's gonna get used and why it's gonna get used. So I'm kind of just, she'll exist in roughly 2 weeks. That's kind of how I'm looking at her. And then
I do it. Really quick. I am with Fatal. I really appreciate the simplicity and power of the kit.
Yeah,
I'm just,
likewise. I mean, I like Fatal saying. I mean, the dust certainly hasn't settled. We don't even really know what's landing and stirring it up. But I think once it does settle, my guess, just based on the pieces we see now, is that she's probably going to be a prominent damage dealer on the Ahsoka team. But like, how synergistic, how impactful, that I just don't know yet.
the only thing I'll really say is there's a decent amount of functionality in the kit that's denied if you can prevent the crit. That like, if Ahsoka has a presence on defense, then crit avoidance. I mean, I keep saying it, but 2024 is the year of the crit, both for and against. Making crit avoid and making characters who have a hard time critting are actually able to crit. If team is like a press the characters like Eon or Dark Rogues would avoid them and crit away arrows and all of that good stuff, and let me become like I think a meaningful lover. A part of that was the fact of when she was originally revealed off balance, it wasn't clear that off balance, was tuned after one hit might expose that it kind of represented much crazier ability that actually is. That's really kind of not a warframe now. No thoughts. My answer will always depend on where she's going, what she's fighting against, and what's the concern. So
I think as an extension of what Fatal's saying is, or to piggyback off to be more clear, I think if you're going all in on her critting, a potency cross is fine. Because you're expecting to crit, which means you're expecting to remove turn meter and inflict your debuffs. But yeah,
what you need to ask yourself is, okay, she's got 68% potency base. So already it's like, well, are you expecting to be into a matchup that has high tenacity? Because 68 potency will do it for most characters, where it's just like, yeah, most teams aren't really interacting with tenacity in that way. So then, like, the generic answer is offense, and then my personal twist on offense is just go bulk with high percent offense secondaries. This is why I'm saying, like, I mean, potency might be great, or potency might be dog shit. And it truly just, until we know the context, anything simultaneously sounds great or horrible.
also worth mentioning, the more I remod characters, the more I look at stuff, like potency crosses are just like, I don't know. I feel like I can pick up 30% potency pretty much free in secondaries. If 100% was your goal, right? I feel like I could do that with secondaries without trying very hard at all.
Well, Sabina's practice numbers time. That's basically all she does is numbers. So, you will be practicing numbers soon.
Yeah. Hu Yang also has a surprisingly simple kit, which I do appreciate.
Nope.
Yeah. There's just a lot. There's way more words in there that need to be in there. She's basically like L3 that as she levels up, she gives more bonuses.
Yep, agreed.
Like
But that's why
I'm not saying unique is super simple. I'm just saying it's surprisingly simple. That's why I said surprisingly. It's an L3 style, punch yourself in the head, give your team bonuses.
I wouldn't call it wrong, but that's why I said it's like this character is in the team 100%. If we're looking at a team of fives, I get if
Yeah,
it's
but it's
threes, I get what
yeah.
you're saying, right? I'll agree to threes that it's not there, but it's like in five, it's like in the team. Hu Yang is just like
Yes,
the
but
other cornerstone piece.
this is the contribution to the team.
That works.
Yeah.
Also,
That's all.
he does have a little bit of pack a punch. Don't take away from it. He actually does have a little bit of a pack a punch.
Yeah.
I'm not
He
calling
doesn't
it
do me.
Sabine. I'm not calling it
Yeah,
Sabine.
he doesn't even. He probably.
He does have a little bit of a pack a punch. Go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think crap is the right thing. I'm just saying, like,
I don't want to discount. He in his own thing that you just read, right? And it's a setup. It's Spectre allies that gain the offense. He is a Spectre ally, so that damage should apply to him as well, which we haven't seen. And under Sortie, it didn't look too bad for what he was doing. That's not including the multiplier. That's not taking into account what it'll look like with the full, like, I don't know, like the Leia setup, right? And when you do this and this, you get super team. And this is what Drogon's going to do now when he does 2 million damage. So I don't want to discount it until we see it. I agree with you, but I just going to call that out. He doesn't do nothing. He actually does a little bit of stuff with the right circumstances.
I think the point of what he's saying is that the per word efficiency of the word count versus what you actually get out of
Oh
it
yeah.
is like this is like one of the worst abilities of the game
Oh
in
yeah.
that regard.
Yes. Okay. Hit the head works. I like the. I think the L3 nails it for like hit the
yeah,
head, hit the head,
it's
hit the head.
L3, punch yourself in the head, give team bonuses.
But the best way to read Galaxy of Heroes kits is, I think, assume everything is bullshit and then like look for keywords that tend to indicate actually being worthwhile. So like start a battle, gain 21% max protection for damage and offense. Okay, that's worthwhile. Okay, skip that sentence, skip that sentence, skip that sentence.
Yeah, 21 plus 34 is 55. So when you put those together, you get the Spectre team.
It's probably some reference to some quote from the Ahsoka show, but considering the show's bad, I don't care to look. But yeah, like this unique, all you need to know is it's roughly 2.5 sentences. You get the 3 stats at the start. You get stacking, crit damage, and offense when you evade or resist, and then you table set for Ahsoka, and that's like that is it. Don't worry about the word count. I see a lot of people like, what the man? CG's kid writing is look at this power creep, and it's like you're talking about one of the worst buffs in the game. All of this stuff about Force Connection, it's from Kala Katarn. You gain 2% offense and 2% defense. It's gonna be okay. The trigger condition is just lose exile. It's just let Ezra do his quest or whatever the fuck Ahsoka's gonna do. Yeah, you don't need to know this. Yep, you don't need to know.
It's just that's just a magic assist plus a small steroid. Yeah, yeah. No, his unique says whenever anyone loses, whenever anyone on your side basically loses. And I really don't want to sound like a hater, but this ability doesn't read that good.
I think it's a perfectly fine button. I think
Yeah.
the strongest plus weakest targeting is kind of a throwback to Ray with the exact same considerations for Lifeblood going to weakest and Inspire going to strongest. That, you know, generally the way CG designs it is like in a race squad, you imagine, okay, strongest is usually going to fall to X character, but then weakest is usually going to fall to Y. And that also opens the door for you to do some really perverse modding shit to try to bend it to your own will and ends, whatever those may be. That I get, whatever. Like for all, people told me that CG said that Ahsoka was going to be a tank. I don't know if that's true. So like, if that's true, then she's probably most of the time just always going to eat strongest, no matter what you do. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's a mass assist. You grab offense up, you grab advantage, you grab damage immunity, you grab tenacity up. It's an okay button. It's not like insanely broken, but you know, depending on whatever the output of the squad is, you know, shout outs to the fact that like Hera basic has a mass or not a mass assist, but has an extra assist on it. And then Ezra, once he pops, gets an extra assist that like a mass assist is like a mass assist and a half technically.
Yeah. Well, also worth mentioning, Hera has a force taunt in her kit. I seem to remember. So yeah. Well, I was just referencing Fatal saying that CG said that Ahsoka was a tank, and that might be true. I'm not saying it's not. But if
Only thing I'm
she's not,
saying is I know we're saying it's okay. I still like it. The only piece we haven't seen is the full power because, again, just going back to his unique 55% offense built into a team that's getting this and then giving them offense up on somebody who's already got 55% offense and damage immunity. So you can't hurt them. And like you've talked about, that you called it out really well. She's glass cannon, right? She is high damage, low threshold for what she can take. So maybe that makes her the weakest, and maybe that's why they're doing that.
She's
So that
also
you
just
don't.
another really squishy character.
That's what I mean, right? But that's what I mean. So it's like, so they're saying we're gonna mass assist, right? Because so what Fatal talked about, we're gonna set up turn order. We're gonna make it to where this is gonna happen, and now she has damage immunity, and her first big blast, which is a big swing, it's gonna go this order for this, and then that someone's deleted, right? Because there's a full mass assist. I know we need to see it. I just call it out that feels pretty cool as far as the piece by piece that's being set up.
Yeah, it just to and to fill in just a couple of things there because I agree with TJ. I mean, you look at how that mass assist, how these various basics line up, and you've got a stagger on Ezra's basic. You've got Hu Yang, who's also going to be called is stunning if the stagger hits. Plus, there's exposed. There's like so I think there's some micro goodness that comes through with the way the kids translate here. That's probably going to be pretty nice.
Yeah, Ezra also has the mace taunt, the resilient defense taunt,
Right.
and then Hera has a force taunt. We're about to read her kit, so I'm not sure that the team needs a tank with the amount of like, haha, hit this guy, haha, no hit this guy. That's gonna go on because this looks like a very offense heavy team.
So I'm going to give you a +1 to this and say Chopper doesn't have anything right now, and Chopper is a droid and Spectre. So there is full reason. There is no reason that they couldn't add it there as a way to give the added bonus.
Obviously, we know nothing about Ahsoka's kit, but I
Agreed.
know I mentioned this to TJ, but I fully expect to be using Chopper instead of Ezra on this team when Ahsoka comes out in GAC.
Yeah, and I know we'll talk about that, but that I think Dagger's on point. That I love Chopper for people I know it's an older kit, but his ability to
Dude,
frustrate
Chopper's
you
great.
by missing. So it's like people who want to sleep on Chopper because he was a battery for the
Chopper
Phoenix
also
team.
taunts, and then when he taunts, he evades. Like the
And
dude's
man,
really
he is
obnoxious.
dodge. His dodge is nuts, dude. So yes, I know we talked. I know I complete alignment for whatever it's gonna do.
Also, I just love Chopper because he has the highest kill count in Star Wars. Also because he straight up cusses because they asked Filoni because Filoni did like a kazoo for his voice and they asked him like what he said and he's like I can't repeat that, it's not family friendly. Yeah, yeah. So Chopper will always have a place in my heart because yeah, that is yeah. Miss New Booty, Miss New Booty, Bubba Sparks.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Just say Zeb. It's gonna save you like 30 seconds.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's a call out for Zeb specifically because Zeb has a really high armor and he's an
Yeah.
air quotes tank who you want to mod for bulk anyways.
Yeah.
So that's
yeah.
just a
As a
call out.
percent of offense, that's absolutely where the needle is moved the most. But like for reference, and I know it's an obscure calculation, but they do that by converting percent defense into raw defense and adding that raw defense to raw offense. And so I believe it's to get to like 4,000 flat defense, which means to add 2,000 offense, you have to be, I want to say it's like north of 86% defense.
It varies by character, but it's somewhere between 80 and 90% armor. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a boost. It's probably pretty easily overestimated. I like it, and by the way, none of this is to discourage people from high defense secondaries. I'm a huge fan. Long have been. And that's actually, I think, where my mod collection is probably most distorted compared to average is on defense secondaries. So you get some boost out of it, but it's don't expect it to be like adding 50% worth of offense to you just because it's saying 50% of their defense.
Also, like Sasha said, don't rule out a defense small set or some defense secondaries because that shit's gonna add up to like 1,000 or 1,500 pretty easily.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't say stacking, so I'm gonna say no. We'll have to we'll have to check the code, but I'm gonna say no because of the way it's worded.
Yeah, it doesn't word like that. It words like if it's an and, not an and or something like that, or it's not. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that last paragraph is eh. The rest of it's really good though. The dots, like just in the marquee ability, that's in the marquee event, dude. You're stacking like 20 dots on people. Like that shit adds up really fast. And then the fracture is obviously stupid. Like just fracture the mechanic slash debuff fracture is stupid. Like really good.
Yeah, 150 speed there. I'm not playing with like, oh, you're this. Let's fine. Let's give you some GL quality speed bumps. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. I have yet to ever make this trigger. perfect defense is tough to get because it's a target. You'll get there when you get to this thing, but perfect defense is it's going to be rough. It's going to be rough to get that on people. Right. Honestly, like I know Sabine's Omicron is like stupid good in TW. This one might actually be like sneaky better because the being immune to stun bullshit is just. And then if you do accidentally stun them, your entire team gets buff immunity and healing. That last line is so filthy. That last line is so fucking filthy. That last sentence. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Well,
will say,
and you can't hide, right? 100% counter chance. Sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. So go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, like, I was kind of like just a quick nod of admiration to them for how determined they are not to give Zeb a Spectre tag. It's they're willing to call him out like 32 times separately. Just, God damn it, no Spectre tag.
I mean,
But
I think it's pretty
yeah,
cool though. At least that way they made it so hardcore,
agreed.
right? The fact that they said it's not like Chrysanthemum with Afra, right? Here they're aligning it that they know they're partners in crime, right? So at least they align it that way that we can't get Spectre, but we can do it this way.
This is why I don't think Ahsoka's a tank. Because if Ahsoka was because I think Zeb would be on the team because of his tag as a tank if they gave him the Spectre tag.
I mean,
Because there are mentions to the tanks taunting, right?
not that often. Very much not that often.
There's one in Harris Kit.
But
On a
that's for
5-turn
lead.
cooldown.
I'm
Oh,
just
you're
saying
talking
that I think
about
Zeb would be on the team if he had the tag, and they don't want Zeb on the team because he wasn't in the Ahsoka show. That's just my 2 cents on why he got added as like a named person as opposed to like given the tag.
The okay on the unique, I'm saving my cards for the end because it's gonna take an emotional turn. I think.
It says on Hera's turn,
No, it's an
call a
additional.
random light
It's an
side droid.
additional. It's an additional.
Yeah.
So no matter what. So she's calling the Spectre ally, and then on her turn she calls an additional assist, which could only be Hu Yang or Chopper, and
Right.
only Hu Yang because Chopper's likely not on the team if Ezra's on the team. Defense up is 50% defense, I believe, and tenacity up doesn't work through tenacity down. This works through tenacity down. That's why this ability is relevant. Fatal can correct me on the numbers, but I believe it's 4x defense up, and they resist detrimental effects, which includes TMR. This is probably one of the best skills we've read today. %24%. Does she? I'm not seeing her gain any going. Like I have her at gear 11, but I checked all of her ability pieces, and none of them add potency that I can see. So I believe it's just the 24%.
Actually, I'm going back in time. I'm trying to save the future. As you were reading through it, I was mentioning Meathead. Okay, so there are some concerns. If anyone is familiar with the defense to offense conversion datacrons, that only uses a character's resistance stat. Or at least that's the suspected interaction. If you look at the code, it works that way where it pulls defense, and normally it would be like, okay, get the defense stat and then increase the physical, and then get the resistance stat and then increase the special. But it doesn't do that. It gets the physical, or it gets the armor, then it gets the resistance, and then it uses it appears, again, I'm not saying this is 100%, but it's like characters who have good resistance have historically gained a lot more offense than characters who don't. So like Stormtrooper was a classic example of someone who would just hit like a truck with D-to-O. So I didn't want to say it at the moment. Again, I was trying to let the good times roll, but like you say, well, Zeb has really big armor. He does not have very big resistance.
Resistance. Yeah.
Oh,
So while y'all were going through the kit, I actually messaged Meathead about the issue to, we'll see if the feature can be altered. But yeah, so past that, so I am also kind of in the Team Zeb camp, but there's such a fucking wrinkle here, which is like, okay, I think CG is actually slightly afraid of Zeb because he has the vaunted Harbor Ignore clause. But the problem with Zeb is that this happened with Captain Rex, and this is happening here again as well. Is if you look at that first special, the one that can, it's like I think it's done it in like various PvE events. I think it can happen in Conquest where sometimes he will just like delete one of your characters, and a part of that is because in a lot of those classic cases, like you think about OG Phoenix, Zeb's kit was designed with the clause: if the enemy is not debuffed, you deal like double damage and percent health and all of these crazy bonuses. And then it's like, if they're buffed, you ignore armor. And so we see it with Captain Rex, that Captain Rex is just drowning the enemy team in debuffs. We see it with Hera again here, where, yeah, they're pretty much always going to be debuffed. Literally, if you are playing the Fantasy of the Strike team, and you're going for the person you fractured, Fracture, I believe, is coded as a debuff, unlike Armor Shred, which is not, they're both kind of the always locked things. Fracture is unfortunately a debuff, so Zeb is, instead of doing double damage, will be in 50% crit damage land. But then, yes, we end up at this, like, we talk about Hu Yang, and because they didn't give Zeb a Spectre tag, you miss out on the 55% offense there. We talk about all these different ways that I think CG is trying to hamstring Zeb a bit, and I think they are scared of this being like a pseudo Great Mother situation of
Right.
you have 150 speed out of the gate, you chopper dispel the tank, you fracture the person you want to kill, and then you Zeb bop them. Now, all of this is to say, I don't think this means that can't happen, but I think what we have here, if we're talking about Hera, capital H Hera lead, I think we just have like a min-max optimization puzzle for just like, okay, let's say the D to O works as well as possible. And I have concern about the numbers as well, because like the Datacron, I tend to be a little bit colder than I think most people are. Obviously, like it made teams like Inquisitors go nuts, but we're gaining 50%, where the Datacron was 400%, and so we're already on like a much lower level.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it's like, how deep does this rabbit hole go numerically? I've been trying to bribe some people to do free work of like, hey, you want to make a calculator to see what it looks like with like defense primaries and offense secondaries? No? Okay, well. It wouldn't shock me. Well, we already see it technically with Hu Yang, where, you ramp force connection, which is 2% offense and also 2% defense. And so really, like, if the D to O could actually function correctly, assuming that it's not, it's entirely possible that it does work. But again, the coding says it does not.
I just got three things. I want to say. First off, thank you, Fatal, for jumping on the Team Zeb bus. It's been a long time coming. I need more people on the bus with me, so it's great to hear. Two, justice for Zeb. Justice for Zeb. He needs, make Zeb great again.
Well, I'm going to have Ahsoka, so I am not going to be on Team Zeb. Not that I don't think Zeb deserves love.
But all the haters, look, Fatal's on with Team Zeb. That's all I had to say. There's other words behind what he said, but just for the fact he started with, he's on Team Zeb. Everything else is irrelevant.
Well, here's the third and weirdest part. Is Phoenix, if you really drill down and know the faction, both defensively and offensively, Phoenix is a faction that historically has struggled with dispelling debuffs. Like that, especially when Captain Rex came out, it's like, okay, this faction has a lot of things, but just like one taunting tank is sometimes just a nightmare to get past. And partly because Spectre is partially inherited from Phoenix, but also, I mean, we just went through a bunch of kits, and boy howdy, that was a lot of words that just said, yeah, do damage. And so, whether we're talking defensively looking to the future for Ahsoka, like, it's actually kind of on Ahsoka to be the Dispel cop, because one key thing
Is
you'll
it?
note.
No, Hera's basic does.
I would
Or-
also say, if you go look, if I'm not mistaken, that's what I thought. Chopper.
Chopper does not use Dispel to start a battle on the AI.
Oh,
It
you're
uses
talking
Taunt.
about okay. You're not talking about just Dispel in general. You're talking about AI Dispel.
Well, Hera
Okay.
will lead with her fracture.
The
Right.
fracture move does not Dispel.
Oh, it doesn't?
It does not.
No, but you can bypass taunt.
This is what I'm saying is it's a bit of a, because we're so used to Thrawn. Like, Leia, yes, Leia has fracture on her ultimate, but I'm gonna be honest, the way that it works, I never really viewed it as like a proper fracture, because it's like it cycles off pretty much immediately. That all it's really doing is like it's creating a small window for you to try to go for ambush that like gives the enemy team a hiccup, but it really doesn't last that long. Hera's fracture here is like a classic fracture of like, I'm putting this down and I'm trying to make this shit last.
Yeah.
That's why it's so interesting to me that, and like when you read Ahsoka's kit, ask yourself, A, does she have an opener that can like peel off their tank and open up the playing field for Hera to fracture who she wants? Or does she give Taunt Ignore? Or, you know, maybe they're trying to drill through a tank or
I thought there was a taunt ignore.
Well, that's what. Well, only if they have
Oh,
exile
it's
or
fracture. Right. You
Well,
have
that's
to
what-
have.
But,
There's your
but to
if
Plato's
then.
point, Leia gets around that by giving everybody the CLS buff.
Yeah.
And her targeting, I mean, I guess it's like one R2D2 assist at the start of battle, can't ignore taunt. But past that point, like, you know, she's dropping a log. She's AoE, so she herself, it doesn't really matter where she aims.
Right.
So that's, if we're looking at everything that this team has and everything that this team doesn't have, it's kind of the same with Ezra Kit. We see a lot of things that they do have that are like really powerful, but man, if you look at what hasn't been included yet, we're talking like some basic modern fundamentals being left out. That to me is really the question going into Ahsoka, is like, how afraid is this team going to be of stuns? How is this team going to deal with like one single re-taunting
I was gonna say that's LV. So we're back to the LV standard of I can do all this stuff to you, but I'm still stuck behind a taunt. I didn't even think about that, but it's true. And you're right, from an automated perspective, it's true. Chopper has it, but doesn't mean he's gonna go right for it. There's all these other pieces that is true. It's there. But that's what I'm saying. No, that's what I'm saying to Fatal's point. I didn't even think about that. From an automated standpoint, it's not going to get to first turn. Oh, let's just make Chopper the fastest. He'll do. It's like that's not what he's going to do. He's going to taunt. So it's all these other pieces that go into the play. So it's right. Fatal's. It's a good call out because you are technically right. You're stuck right there.
Liang calls her Mass Assist, right? That's her first ability.
If it's the Mass Assist, then you have a decent hope. You would like make Hu Yang. It would be like Ahsoka, I assume, would have to be fastest, Hu Yang second fastest, Terra third fastest.
Yeah. Yeah. If Hu Yang uses the assist first, and
isn't that the top priority? I thought I haven't seen one where
I haven't seen
Hu
Hu Yang on defense yet to know.
Oh, okay. So when
an auto on offense is different than auto on defense.
Yeah. That is a gold question right now, I think.
Yeah, because if Hu Yang leads with the Mass Assist, you just want to crank her speed as fast as possible.
Olga versus Hu Yang. That's just a clue from Ahsoka. Yeah. Sometimes you can find fights from random YouTube accounts that just people like, hey, I'm following Grand Arena. I don't think it's gonna happen.
All I know is that this Ahsoka team is going to be removing the other team from the battlefield, or attempting to, very quickly.
Right.
Oh, other thing I want to shout out. Speaking of, the defense penetration is the mythic, not featured kind. the one that nobody except SLK previously has. It appeared
Oh.
people looked at the code.
It's like so Sabine has like none of it.
Yeah, so the majority of the people on the team are like attack or agi, so it's not even like they would be strength attackers, but it's fine because there is a stat in the game called defense penetration that historically only one other character has, and that's SLK, who just randomly has 65% for some infernal reason, and it's never been used anywhere else.
Yep, Sabine has 0% defense.
Every character in the game except for SLK has 0%. CG has never used this stat outside of randomly giving it to SLK.
You're telling me that the defense pen is a brick?
No.
They don't apply it as sort of equally to resistance pen and armor pen. Instead, they're just playing it's like a multiple to a non-existent stat.
No. I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying that if this is saying what I believe it's saying, this is just saying everyone on the team ignores 40% of the enemy armor always.
regardless of what it is.
Anyone here play League of Legends? It's Void Staff.
Okay.
That's what makes this such a unique moment in time if we're talking Galaxy of Heroes history, because everyone always constantly be like, what the fuck does this stats do? Like, why do I have defense penetration and then armor penetration, and why does everyone just have 0% defense penetration? This is literally like a stat just got patched into the game for the first time. Like, a new stat just dropped. That, we'll see. Well, I guess it'll be hard to make sure that it's actually what it is.
But now it's a team, right? To your point, it was one character, and now we're looking at a team.
Now it's straight up a part of a factional identity. And that to me is interesting.
You didn't hear me exhale the way I did, but I gave one of those like exhales where you like, man, fuck.
And let's.
This team is going to insta delete us.
The only thing I want to keep going back to is that 55% offense on top of everything that's going on.
Look, man, CG goes through phases, and let me tell you, from all of the Ray Ezra versus Balin stuff that I watched, CG is kind of in a fuck armor phase right now. Where like, Balin's special 2 is just like AoE armor shred, and then the team has really solid armor pen to boot. This team is just like passive 40% armor ignore potentially.
I'm gonna take your point, but I'm just gonna go back to when we first saw Drogon after the logs got pulled, and he hit that one basic, and then characters just went away and they faded, and the numbers were huge. And I think this is what we're getting back to, right? Because we hit that if then. Well, we're hitting that with her, and like, what does Sabine do with that first shot, which is already a power shot? You know what it looks like with 55% offense.
I think one of my favorite. I think this is semi-unrelated, but mostly related to what you just said about Drogon. Because I have teenage girls in the house, right? It's like we listen to a certain genres of music. So K-pop is one of them. So whenever you say Drogon hits them, I just hear in my head, hit them with that do. And if you understand, you understand. If you don't, you don't. It's okay. Every time TJ brings up Drogon, I hear a song in my head, basically.
That was mine.
But anyway, sorry. Completely derailed.
Not round one. I'll reach out to Aesop and see if he's game. We'll have to get schedules to work, but it would be a ton of fun.
I think we all will. Yeah, I think everybody will.
I've got. And let me check with this. Is totally unfair because I haven't checked with the poor guy yet at all. But yeah, it would be a ton of fun, and I would be like, at least from my side, very happy to do sort of like full open book for like go through all of my thinking, and it would be yeah, certainly be something I'd enjoy. So yeah, let's see what we could do. But I absolutely owe Aesop at least the courtesy of talking to him about it. So yeah, we'll check. I love the idea. Yeah, sure. So I'll jump in a bit and then hand it over to you guys because I do need to drop. But well, first, just to clarify that, like, either 8 GLs or 0 GLs, that's really about just sort of keep that. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, just about keeping sort of some fun and sort of, different flavors in the experience for me, more than it is about like really optimal like winning tactics. That was just, just doing some random stuff and having different experiences with it. Um, I do think that if there are certain datacron sets and metas that we can find ourselves in that bring more defensive viability, particularly to certain non-GL squads that get, hugely boosted by either bespoke datacrons or some other novelty to them, uh, that efficiency is not necessarily the optimal track competitively, but in general, I will say, like, if I were really just playing to win, I would slide very much more towards efficiency, and I think it's been that way for quite a while. And you just start squeezing risk out. Uh, it's just that's about as fun as it sounds. Like I really appreciate for most of those that are playing at the top end of Kyber one, and most of the folks I run into regularly, there's like a bit of an unspoken agreement like that everybody's going to at least set a few GLs. Like I've said, for Aesop and I mean, we really try and come up with creative and challenging defenses for the other to face. It is less about like optimal for winning and more about sort of pride and gotcha of saying, hey, that thing was innovative, that worked. It was, a puzzle that didn't crack as smoothly, or at least on first try. And it's less about winning. So yeah, I think if I were to just say, like, what's the best bet to play purely to win, um, and you're going to set aside joy and your reputation in the game and your relationship with your competitors, then yeah, cheese the hell out of it. But that's my gist. I'll hand it over to you guys. I'll be on listen only mode for a second until I have to jump on a business call. But thank you guys. Sure. You too.
Oh, the best you can basically hope for once Ahsoka hits here is trying. We're basically going to enter a one-shot meta, and the best I think you can hope for is just hoping for a drop, right? Because it's like, if your opponent decides that they want to save 7-ish GLs, because I think that's what's going to be like I don't want to say the norm, but even somebody like myself who is not quite fatal level of set the house, but definitely more than Tass or TJ set the house, like, when I, like, in what I want to do, not in what I do, you know what I mean? I think, like, it's very much we are very much in the era now in Swugga where I don't know I don't know if you can justify setting more than 2 or 3 GLs once Ahsoka hits, especially if they're going to prop up teams like Great Mothers to be the problem on defense. Because if that's the case, you're just going to have to present as many GL level threats on defense as you can. because all the GLs die to things that are cheaper than GLs. Yeah, with things like Bane and Ezra, and now the Ray coming out, we have 3 characters that are better than like 4-ish of the GLs. That also does not seem to be changing, right? Because it's not like we had Bane and it's like, oh, he's better than C and JML. I guess we'll just like we'll tone down our conquest characters. No, we got Ezra, right? Like,
I just only want to add one asterisk.
scrutiny. Yeah.
No, I just want to slot one piece. I think the characters are called out, but I also want to now, and you have to underscore this: bespoke Datacrons become a new character. I have to add that in there because we have seen increased elevations to our Great Mothers RGL. You have maybe 2 options or something like that that are killing that team right now. That bespoke Datacron, and so it's like we know there's one coming out for Ahsoka, one member on the team, I believe. We'll see whatever it's going to be. So bespoke Datacron becomes a GL in itself, or has the potential. That just feels like we can't exclude that as far as like, yeah, I have Great Mothers, but I have Great Mothers with bespoke Datacron. We don't have the same team, and now you only get 2 options to kill that, and or you're screwed.
Also worth mentioning that going back to what we said before, Great Mothers without the Datacron beats like 5 or 6 of the GL.
It really is that good. Like I said,
Right.
if any go watch TAS, you will see that how
Yeah.
this one is that level, but it where they've gone, and I think like I said, we saw Ezra. Fatal called it out that way. Bane, dude, like what they're doing with the kits are getting just hugely crazy, and then obviously seeing what Ray's gonna do.
After Thrawn, I'm curious to see what's next. Because not to jump too far ahead in Swugga, but I feel like Thrawn's the last GL we're gonna get. Because I feel like we're on to what's next. Because the conquest units have caught the GLs.
I don't know if I would agree that we're onto something else. There something in my gut just says that I think Ahsoka will be a step up in power compared to previous GLs.
I think that's fair. I
mean,
think Leia was a good start.
Yeah, a triple Omi GAT character, and then 2 TW Omis on her team. I sure hope so. Right? Like,
but yeah, the whole point being, we'll see that like.
Oh yeah.
If it's true, then we might just see a new era of GLs. Like that was the first 8. This is the next 8 type shit. Where we'll see.
Definitely see that. Go ahead, Tess, and then I'll go.
Off of Ahsoka alone makes me want to agree with Fatal. Like it's what Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But
You just
but but they don't
You
have
just
to.
you come up with like mythic galactic legends. CG's not clever.
I don't think they will though. I think what Fatal said is
No, I know, I
perfectly.
agree.
It's like if you watch the rungs on a ladder, and this is what's easily to see, right? What Fatal says makes perfect sense. Leia was a great step in the right direction. Now we look at what Ahsoka's doing and where they're buying in the investment. Then the next step, they give us a conquest character to go to somebody who didn't need a lifter. To me, that's a perfect rung. And what Fatal says makes perfect sense because what's the next step? We're going to give 2 lifter units to the next team. So Rey's now going to have 2 lifter units, and this becomes so it's to me but that's what I'm saying though. It's like what Fatal said is perfectly
I
easy
know.
because for them it's just like we'll just make this much farther, right? So I think when Ahsoka does come, I think Fatal's right. That's like here's the next step in the rung.
Right. No, that makes sense. Like I said, I fully understand. Like, especially what is this? Was this 3 R9s and 3 R8s or some shit like that?
And like 5 new marquees or something, right? Like,
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I mean, 3 of the marquees were like all in a row. Not saying the first 2 don't count. I'm just saying like you could free to play the first ones, right? But no, these ones, these last 3 is where it's just like marquee, go fuck yourself. Plus R9s. Yeah.
I just we didn't talk about her, but look at how good this Rey kit is on somebody who didn't need one. So like Fatal called out like, yep, light bulb, that's it. Because it's like we didn't need this. It just like that swings perfectly for where we're going. Obviously, we're talking about clones or whatever the hell that's going to be. But looking at this, it's like, yeah, Fatal is 100% on the money.
Yeah, what if Ahsoka is so far above everything else that Slacker needs Rey to beat her, kind of thing is what you're saying, or to beat her consistently?
Well, and I think they also learned, and I'm going to go with this. I'm not calling LV bad, but LV was by far the most expensive GL we ever had, and now that's trumped by Ahsoka. And the one thing I think CG is good at, one is with kits, but also learning from things they tried. So I think when all these pieces come together and we get to see it, I fully expect that this is the house because this is the Wales GL. This is not the free to play GL. Everybody else felt completely like free to play reliant, right? Even Leia. Leia was super strong, came out and all that, and she had the powerhouse. She felt completely reasonable.
Well.
Okay. Yeah.
Offense. Overwhelmingly offense, in my opinion. Like on defense, he just gets ran around by trains. He has the bow problem of lacking reactivity, and in 5s, you just have like a million more teams that can just cheese him out. The easiest one to think of off the top of my head is why am I blanking on his name? Hondo and L3. That's like the air quotes default. I'm sure there are other clever things you could do, but that seems like the most powerful thing you can do off the rip.
It still leaves a point though.
Cheap might not be the right way to phrase it. There are going to be many more teams that can beat it in 5s because the core 3 of this team is better than most other teams' core 3. But this team is a 5-person unit is much worse.
I am going to hold. Week 1, the rule still stands pretty strong. Make it somebody else's problem if you've got the toy. So I'm not going to call. I'm not calling Dagger wrong. Fatal has already come out very eloquently about it. It kills the rays. It does the work. And I know it's going to kill more, and especially we'll have GAC Omicrons fully intact and doing all that. We have a bespoke datacron. But I could still see it being one of the 11. I can still see it being one of the 11, depending on where you're going to position.
I think I actually have thoughts on this. So here's the issue. When Balin was revealed and you looked at the original 3, the core 3 are slow as fuck and don't have reactivity. The dynamic of the mercenary squad is that they ironically need other people to mercenary for them. And CG more or less kind of winked at this when they added mercenary text to 2 characters, but I think three are kind of what's in consideration. The aggressiveness out of the gate comes from Han, comes from Kira, and comes from Hondo. That a lot of the cheaper ways to kill them, A, have to deal with that, and then B, the sneaky turn meter gambling preload that they have of I'm going to apply doubt to all of you at the start of battle, and one of them or 2 of them got 15% resisted, and so now we have a 10 or 20% turn meter preload. Has a much higher chance of proccing in 5v5 than the v3. So I'm not saying the team is a good defense team, but I am saying that they were designed to ride this really weird fuzzy line of like, okay, well, I've got this Hondo with his Omicron that has a slight preload and borrows any TM gain. Okay, I've got Han who can RNG stun you at the start of battle. Okay, I've got this doubt RNG mechanic that could possibly make me go before you. My vote is actually kind of more towards the defense side, just because much like people posting Gungans on defense, this team has some amount of inbuilt scam potential of just like, you thought it was one thing, but it was the other. Mm-hmm. Like,
I think you're on it. I understand Dagger's point. I think there's a lot of merit to what it can do. But like I said, what Fatal did, and I would agree. I wouldn't necessarily call it your bottom front staple. But does it have positioning elsewhere? I still feel like it's one of your 11 when it's going to come down to it. Because you're right. Because like I said, the doubt is a great call out, right? The pieces of the puzzle, if you want to throw it in, the fact that I think he called it out perfect with the Han. What the Hondo gets to do and who does that lock up, or you have to account for that. And then while you're accounting for that, the team is still doing its job, and if it gets left, you're in trouble.
To be clear, my thought process on that stems from he beats Ray pretty cleanly, which means I no longer need a Ray counter. And then I no longer need a Ray counter, that means that Malicos and Starkiller can go elsewhere. And then the actual question becomes that if I get to trickle down my offense, the actual question I have to ask myself is Balin a better defensive team than something like Leia?
I'm gonna be honest with you. Ray Ezra just dies just like plain old Starkiller. You don't even need Malicos. If you got that mod swap that I talked about, I ran it. Sorry,
I wasn't going to use Malicos on that team. I was simply saying that Seer Malicos is its own team, and Starkiller is its own team, and neither one of them has to be on Ray duty.
I kind of fell off the face of the earth for the last week, so I wasn't here for the last plotting and scheming or the end of the season. I did run it. It turned Ray Ezra into an absolute joke. The mouse up that I was talking about with Fast Starkiller and Mara right under him. Yeah, Ray Ezra. I think my read was correct that it was a fun flash in the pan, but as explosive as it can be to an unprepared opponent, you probably have an advantage on those people anyway. I am personally hoping that Ahsoka won't need Ezra, but if that is the case, I do not think I'll be using Rey Ezra as the default. Like maybe I'll coast on it until people show signs of like, I know what the fuck it is. People don't want to remod for GAC, so maybe they just won't do it. And like you just continue to blow them up that way. That like the core counter doesn't just go back to steamrolling them. But knowing that is what it is, I know it's week 1 and everyone's already locked in, but yeah, you should do that mod swap and then just enjoy the free Ezra for the next couple weeks until Ahsoka comes out.
Fair enough. I was more just thinking about like availability on offense versus effectiveness on defense.
Right.
I don't call your answer wrong. Like I said, we know it's gonna in
Oh, yeah,
fives and get a full thing. That's like it's gonna kill it all.
My thought process, because frequently the thought process is more important than the actual answer.
So the one other thing I'll offer is the mercenaries. Like you would need to be using mercenaries in a place where where that inconsistency doesn't matter. Because on defense, if it's like I have a 50% chance to scam you and like a 2% chance to super scam you, hits a lot differently than whatever matchup you might choose for them on offense, or like, well, fuck, I didn't get any resist this time, so now I'm going second, and I just lost the character right off the bat, which happened to be a lot in Conquest, trying to use the mercenaries in Sector 1, where it's not even that hard, and being like, well, Shin and Honda are dead. That's cool. Yeah. Gave disclaimer a couple of weeks ago. It's a big ass project. You're not going to see it till the new year, and that's not even saying you'll see it on January 1st. I've been working on it. They might not have heard it. They might not have heard it. So just put it out there. I scoped the project up decently significantly, but only because the idea was really fucking good and the road seems open. But yeah, it's just a big ass body of work. I'm trying to chew through it.
And if you're in like Kyber 2 or low on teams and you're in that position, it's its own team, I guess. Or if you're like a more mid game player going for Ahsoka, so you already have these characters all kind of developed slightly. I know that I have friends who started playing this game a few years ago, and they save up their crystals for this stuff. So they were able to get Hera. I think only 2 of them checked in, but they're at 5 stars. So they're probably going to get Ahsoka before the end of the year. And those guys who are like 7-8 million with 3-4 GLs can use that team as an actual team. So it just depends on where you're at in the game. There is a question I wanted to answer, or I wanted to get everyone's take on. It's one of the first ones asked by Seagulls. Honest feedback for where the game is and how they can improve the game both from a high level and casual level. I wanted to just touch on that because I think the game is in a very, very good spot right now. They are at risk for character fatigue, I think, at least for the high spenders. But I think for the obviously there's going to be complaints, but this new Eras Pass is 25% more than what you were getting before for free, and it's 200% of what you were getting before for free if you give them $20. So I think it's going a long way to helping people progress their rosters. Also, I know it's been mentioned before that CG is doing a pretty good job with their kits recently. We've been less buggy, I think, for the most part. So I think the game's actually in a really good spot right now. The bespoke Datacrons aside, I think the game's in a pretty good spot. That's the one thing that I would just completely that and TB. I would remove TB and bespoke Datacron.
I wouldn't. I know people who like TB, and I don't want to take anything away. Galactic Challenge is what it is. I have people who like Conquest. I have people who like TB. And I, if you're gonna ask me that, I think Dagger, you nailed it. And I've always said, Sugo now is the kits. If you want my honest opinion of what they need to do, I'm just gonna broaden. They need a revamp of PvP. That's we have done raids. They have done things to step on the PvE side of the house. They have not touched PvP. And again, people don't like TW. There's people who don't really care for GAC, but they play the game for this aspect when you're at, I guess, our level. There's one place that you like and you feel like it's home, right? And that goes like top down. Um, they need to fix and work and reinvest a year, like 12 months of PvP and what they're going to do. If they want to start on TW, start on TW. If they want to start on GAC, hey, I'm a fan. This is a GAC show. But the PvP aspect is so outdated. All we talk about, and look at Fatal. I keep making the joke. Fatal's taking time off now because it's fives. He can't play the game the way he wants to play the game. We've said it for literally months now, that you're sitting here stuck because you have so many characters that you're just pushing stuff by the side. They used to revamp kits. They used to add things back in. Where are the new Omicrons coming out for old characters that they were doing for a while there? They were ramping us up, right? They need to get back on doing this and take some love to those players, because at least at our level, hell, we're in Chromium. We're here for the top of the spear, right? You're here to do the things, but all right, let's go deal with our 50 characters and our zones. Let's go deal with our GAC. We have 11 zones. We have 11 teams to make, or we have this. At least in threes, you have more teams, so it's spread out. The
Also,
answer,
really quick, just to piggyback on what you're saying, it's been over 4 years since they did anything to TW, and all they really did was expand the board and add Droid Brain.
Yeah.
And it's been 3 years since they've done literally fucking anything to GAC.
Yeah. So I know I have a tendency to repeat, but that's what I want. Just broaden out. Look at PvP. Give us 12 months of we're really going to hone in on this for you guys. We did all of these new updates. Now we're going to start looking at game modes and really focus on our player base.
And we got our new TB 2 years ago. We've had 2 years of this TB already.
So, okay, that's it for me.
Fatal, did you have anything you wanted to add? Well, first, let's ask Fatal. Is there anything you wanted to add?
No, I think pretty much everything was hit on for the most part. It just, I still, I don't. I would like to see rotation come to the game for carve out half of Kyber 1 and make it Beskar League and put rotation there. That like characters who are 4 or 5 X years old are eligible to be rotated like on a monthly basis or whatever. I think is just, I don't think CG wants to do it because they tried to do it once and the community fucking hated it.
Yeah. Well, to be clear, they made us vote on who we wanted to ban. To be clear, they put it on us and said, "You guys get to choose."
Well, the game was also just at a very different place back then.
Right.
It was like banning freshly farmed characters. We're approaching year 10. That like, are you going to be upset that you lost, Jedi Knight Revan or Commander Luke Skywalker? Not that I'm saying that those are like, man, these characters have got to go. They're like fucking everything up. But just like as an example, right? Is like the idea of losing Darth Revan right after he came out, I think hits a lot differently than
Right.
You've been playing with this toy for like 6 years, and maybe the game will be more interesting if it's off for 1 month out of the year.
Especially if Beskar League's like the top 200 or 400 players, so presumably like have large accounts, and then it's like, yeah, for these 3 months you don't get to use Old Republic characters. Have fun with that shit.
I'll tell you what, it'll be devastating for those Bronzium accounts that just got that character for the first time, though. Fucking rip.
So the other question I wanted to touch on that I really enjoy, that I really thought we could dig into was what are omis that were once good but now obsolete? Uh, I have a bunch, so I will let other people go first.
I have actually had this conversation before, and I actually tend to be an extremist on the opposite side. The only Omicron that I would take, or that I took, that I would really say fell the fuck off is TIE Fighter Pilot. Or First Order TIE Pilot, sorry. Uh, also, I apparently have Chirpa's Omicron, and I do not consciously remember taking that, so that probably says more about me than about that Omicron, but I would not have applied that.
Are we looking?
Yeah,
So you say Lumi. I'm gonna go the director, Krennic, because
yeah,
you can never. That's what I understand the Lumi thing because I saw some niche things, but literally the Krennic and I would love for TIE Pilot to work like that, but just you're never gonna get that. But Krennic, dude, you can't. Even if you want to do it, because if you want to use Iden, you're gonna have Death Trooper there. Or now it's got the Remnant setup, and if you're gonna go somewhere, Death Trooper has. So it's like, when are you putting Krennic with Death Trooper to do what you would want to do with this? So it's like, oh man, that one always hurts my feelings that we can never get it to go like it's supposed to. Yeah, I'll go older, dude. Back with Heinze, I'm gonna go back to threes, and with Heinze, we were talking about it, and I thought, man, there could really be some legs to a Krennic because there's only three characters, right? And then bypassing a taunt, Krennic really does have a strong shot, right? His damage is actually one of the top in the game if you go look at the numbers and what it can do. So it was like there was things there to it, but you just can't. You just can't do it. There's just not enough to make it stick like you want it to.
the reason I brought it up is because as someone who has every Omicron, I can tell you which ones get used and which ones don't.
I mean, that's fair,
Like,
but that's also
Admiral
because
Akbar,
characters.
Admiral Akbar and Princess Leia are both pretty dog shit. Like Chief Chirpa. And if we're gonna go off ones that I placed at one point to use and got use out of them, but now are not very useful. To be clear, we can all talk about the bad homies like Lumi, shit like that. I specifically wanted to touch on like Qui-Gon and Zam, who I know have some corner case uses and are not completely useless, but I don't find myself using them ever. And it's not because I don't want to use them. It's because it's like, oh, you can use bounty hunters versus gas. I'm like, but I have like 5 things I can use versus gas, which get better banners.
I think it's just because of the sunsetting of kits though and teams
No, I
is
agree.
where we're looking. But that's like
Yeah,
because
I'm saying
Zam on the team is cool, but I
I'm-
agree with you. It's like you're just sunsetted. You can't because we don't have space.
yes, and those are the 2 that I would bring up, not because I think they're bad, but
Right.
because I honestly think that Beck lead is better, and I don't use Zam. And I understand that there are uses for both, but I'm not saying I regret them. I'm just saying that those are the 2 of the ones that you would think you would use that I don't use. Obviously, there are bad. Like I said, we can all talk about the bad ones like Chirpa and like Princess Leia and like you know what I mean. But yeah,
But yeah,
I
that's
still use Qui-Gon and I still use Zam. Not like all the
okay.
time.
I've watched. Well, really quick. I have watched you use bounty hunters versus. I have watched you. I have watched you use bounty hunters versus gas, and then your Zori goes completely unused, and you could have just used Zori for better banners. No, the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is that if I use Zam, it's because I want to use it, not because I have to use it. Yeah, and I'm not saying that you can't push back. I'm just saying that those are the two Omis that I don't find myself using because they are not as good banners as alternatives that I use.
Well, let me put this in front of you. This last 3v3, I lost against that 300% Great Mother's Datacron when, after I already blew all my other teams, at the end of it, I was like, fuck it. Let me just throw this Qui-Gon in and see what happens. And he sniped Spirit immediately. And I was like, motherfucker. I could have won this JAC easily. That, like, and this is, I'm not saying that this is a one-time story, oh, this proves anything, but I have lost like 5 GACs this way, where the tool at the top of the problem-solving toolkit of, okay, this is a fucking problem for me, go fishing with Qui-Gon was always the thing I should have gone for first and didn't think of until last, and then I played that fight and he opens up the can that would have like solved that problem for me. That, like, I
Fair enough.
will go to bat for Qui-Gon as, is he your default option all the time? No, it sucks that it's so like random
No, that's
on
fair.
whether or not you get to do the Qui-Gon thing. But you know, I have never been like, damn, if OTP would have cooked here. Qui-Gon,
No, that's true. No, that's why I brought them up because they aren't in that tier of like, oh, this just gets no use by anybody. These were just, yeah, I don't know. But
it hurts worse because he proves to me that he actually could have done it retroactively after I already
Yeah.
took the loss. Or like literally every single time he's like, motherfucker, I could have killed him for you. Like, what are you?
Yeah, I was thinking of it more in the sense of like the spirit of the question: what Omis were once good but now obsolete. And I was only speaking for myself, obviously. But I
Yeah,
never
got you.
applied the first order Omi assuming it was going to be amazing. I had 100 in the bank, and TJ made like a reasonable case at the time.
FOTP
Right?
had good use at the time.
Yeah,
I
Yeah. That's
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think if you have that conversation for CW, that conversation gets dire real fucking quick. But that's because
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah,
there's
like half of them are bad now.
16 size board and the 9 GL is coming. Choo
Yeah.
choo.
Oh yeah, I just pulled this. I have 47 TW Omis, and I think the last TW we played that was meaningful, I used like 12. No, Ahsoka should. So the season is the next step of the season is in 2 weeks from today or yesterday. I think it's 2 weeks from today, and I expect Ahsoka then.
Yeah,
I
she has to
expect
be out
her.
in 2 weeks because it's holiday.
I think they usually are, aren't they? Aren't they normally?
I just know that CG fucks off next Wednesday
Yep.
or like a month. So she or not sorry. CG fucks off in like 2 Wednesdays for a month. So she's gonna be out before that.
Hit 13th, update 16th, playable 17th, CG
Yeah.
fucks off, is my guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's yeah. That sounds all of it aligns. Yeah.
Twitch.tv/playbook TV. I was actually going to shut my Discord, but the easy link is broken. That, yeah, if you can find anywhere, the Discord is. Even if I'm out or like out of commission, the Discord is always popping in a pretty good way. So that too.
you decided to make me not only co-host on your show, but also a Discord admin. And on behalf of the entire Discord and the co-host, I would like to thank you for allowing us to be on your PNS every week.
No, you don't get to talk for me. I will thank him for his PNS and what we've gotten to do for it. You don't get to be that guy. Personally, Tass, thank you for your PNS and all the year. Almost over a year of PNS. We've been doing this, right? It's been going for quite a while.
Been 2 years?
Man, that is
We're going on 2
that.
years
So what you're saying is the PNS is getting longer and longer the more we go, which is nice. Right. Right. But you just don't want to do it in the cold because obviously in the cold it gets smaller.
The longer I'm on the PNS, the harder it gets.
That's right.